So, welcome back, and I'd like to welcome Tim Wilde to the conversation today.
Good morning.
Tim is an ascension guide who does energetical updates on a regular basis, but he's pretty well known in the spiritual community.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's an honour to be here, Danny, and I've been working in the spiritual field for quite a while now. And,
yeah, you have, yeah.
What brings us to this conversation this morning is so many people waking up, like thousands and millions of people are waking up around the world. Danny, you've woken up into this entire scenario in the last 5 years, haven't you?
Well, God, I think I roughly started waking up around 2008.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been massively accelerated the last 8 years.
It has. So what we're looking at today is what is actually going on from a human perspective. Because you and I have got similar perspectives. We were talking about this just now. How we understand the same things, but it comes through a different level of perception. But the nuts and bolts of it, what is actually going on out there, and how is it affecting us as not just individuals but as a community? So what's your take on it so far?
Well, obviously we're not, I wouldn't say we're being forced, but something's happening naturally where we're being, our journey has always been looking for the answers externally.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I'd say especially the last 5 or 6 years, but really accelerated the last 3 years, my journey is no longer looking for answers out there. It's literally gone right inwards. And this is what I wanted to talk to you about. You're an ascension guide. Yeah, I was wondering if you could explain what ascension is, and is that the same as awakening?
They are very much on a parallel. The things that are going on at the moment, right? So, from an ascension perspective, our entire planet has changed vibration. Like, you are listening to us in what we would call, in my field, a 4th/5th dimensional vibration, meaning the Earth is no longer the same. The vibration of human beings, believe it or not, the entire planet, the trees, the plants, the animals, everything has risen. Now, this is a deliberate process. This is a process that's been preordained to occur at exactly the point that it has for millions of years, since the whole beginning of Earth, human beings, the whole process. So we are we living in unprecedented, like this incredible period of time. We might be kind of mowing our way through this at the moment, struggling, wondering what the hell's going on. But on a soul level, we know exactly what's occurring. We know exactly why we're here. We know what we've incarnated to do. And what's most interesting about it is we've all got a very specific skill set. Now, the skill set that we've been gifted with, or that we've come through with, is unique to each and every one of us. So there's all of these millions of people on the planet waking up, going from a process of moving from ego to heart-centeredness, which is how you explain the business about going inside. You know, nothing's about external validation anymore. It's all about the inner journey, reconnecting to the heart. But on a planetary level, this is one of the most difficult things that human beings will ever do. An animal is already close to its heart. It doesn't have an ego to navigate. But a human being has got a huge external world of things which have validated existence previously. So that journey is long. Disconnecting from the ego is, we can witness the extent of the trauma that is causing at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think this is when we go back to perception again, because it feels like, for me, rather than a disconnection of the ego, it's more like a reintegration.
An acceptance.
Yeah. And I think the reason it's so difficult is because we've been on ancestral loops going round and round and round for years.
Yeah.
But what's actually happening now is we're taking a different path, aren't we? We've stepped off the cycle.
Yeah.
So the hamster's been flung from the wheel.
It's you could call it that, or you could call it unplugging from the matrix. Now, it's an interesting term that you hear a lot of people using now.
Yeah.
You know, first of all, it was coined by Keanu Reeves in the actual set of the movies.
Bloody hell, yeah.
How and if you listen to that one quote from Keanu Reeves, said it wasn't a film, it wasn't a sci-fi film, it was a documentary.
Yeah.
So the actual reality of human beings being plugged into an illusionary reality, which controls their movements and their thoughts, their perceptions, and most importantly, their energy flow. Now, that's been going on for a very long time. That's been going on since the fall of Atlantis 10,000 years ago. So we've been in this very kind of deep, dark, long tunnel. And what happened on the 21st of December 2012, which is the date that was allocated by the Mayans, the light switch went off in that dimensional space and was turned on in the one we're in at the moment. So we're on a pathway. We're on this incredible kind of journey to remove ourselves from this previous. The only way to describe it is entrapment.
Yeah.
Trapped in this state, but not just trapped for the sake of being trapped. We volunteered to actually have that experience. So all of us who incarnated during that period of time will have said, I am going to Earth and I'm going to do it to experience what it's like to be in that very intense, deep, dark, third dimensional space.
Yeah.
And disconnected from source.
Yeah.
So,
which was cut back to sort of linear time.
Yeah.
Because if there's no linear time, then you're connected to everything at one point, but
Absolutely.
the moment linear time is created, you've got a beginning and an end.
Yeah.
And if there's an end, then there's a point where in your head you're going to lose everything, which creates abandonment and loss, which is part of the entrapment.
It's part of the experience. It's the whole. What I think is most fundamentally most interesting part about it is that our perception of the experience is changing so drastically, and it's on a witnessing level. We're seeing the entire planet waking up.
Yeah.
We volunteered to awaken before the others did, but what's happening now and what's going to make 2023 such an entertaining in inverted commas, is that there's going to be a forced awakening. Pardon me. So on a vibrational level, it's a little bit like putting a cup of water in a microwave. Now the microwave's been simmering. It's been on like 100 watts for 10 years. It might have gone up to 200 watts now, and 300 watts. All of a sudden we've stepped into 2023 and it's banged up on 1,000.
Yeah.
So the water molecules they're all boiling. Everyone's boiling, like the like the sun flares are coming in, the energy's rising.
Crazy solar storms at the moment.
Crazy solar storms. Now none of this is, again, I don't believe any of this is by chance, it's all by design. So you've got the allocation of the moon energies, you've got the astrological setups, you've got the sun flares coming in, you've got everything coming in from the higher realms.
The astrology's been unreal.
Yeah.
We follow astrology as well, like I know you do.
You've got a good understanding of it as well, haven't you? So
I love astrology.
So everything that's happening is pointing to one result.
Yeah.
Which is the mass enlightenment.
So what would you class as awakening?
I would class awakening as an understanding of our existence on this world. Like previously we were always searching for answers. Why are we here? You know, who's God? What's God? What's my purpose on this world?
Yeah.
And in many cases just kind of going through a survival process, just day after day, grind after grind sort of thing. And being lucky or happy to have what you have, if it's in a state of abundance or living in a state of poverty. And so the experience is very polarised. So what we're moving into is an energy which is no longer going to be so polarised. At the other end of the journey that we're on at the moment, when the vibration has eventually achieved what it's looking to do, we're all going to be living at a much more heart-centered vibration, which means the energy will, and the vibration and the consciousness and the understanding and the living conditions of everyone on this world will be a lot more unified. It will not be a lot more linear. But in the process of getting there, we've got to, and I'm not going to use the word eliminate because that's quite a harsh word.
Yeah.
But what you're going to be looking at is the controlled demolition of the 3D matrix and the effects and the control that it has on our existence. So we're all unplugging madly as we're going along. You've unplugged, I've unplugged, all these other people have unplugged. But this year we're going to be seeing so many people who've been unplugged. They're not necessarily ready to be unplugged.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting.
and they're all like kind of running around like, oh my God, what's happened? I can see now.
Yeah.
And that overwhelming sensory perception of reality, of truth, of what's actually really going on out there is going to cause a mass dark night of the soul. Big one. We can feel it.
Yeah.
We can feel it. You can feel it. I can feel it. We can feel that pressure of people who are suddenly able to see, and it's a little bit like,
it's quite traumatic.
Yeah, very traumatic. It's like being dumped on the side of a snowy mountain on a sunny day, having a bag taken off your head and no snow goggles. Everything's just like super visceral, super high frequency, blinding light.
That's a good way of putting it. Yeah, definitely.
It's an interesting time to be alive.
It is.
It really is.
I mean, with part of my because I think there's kind of two types of awakening, because on a lot of spiritual groups I can actually see quite a lot of arguing at the moment about what is awakening, and I think there's two types of awakening. So I think there's an external awakening and I think there's an internal awakening, but I think also one of the things which we're seeing, like we always knew everything was a reflection, and I saw on your website you've got as within, so without, and as above, so below, and this is the law, the universal law. But for me, doing the internal work, what I'm really seeing is when I have a big shift internally, I can see an immediate reflection in my external world. But as we go inwards, which I know you've been doing as well, and doing the work internally and reconnecting with the parts of ourselves internally, then this is happening on an external level as well.
It is. And that's exactly what happens. So we shift our inner vibration and our personal vibration, and the outside reforms to match it. Now, that's been happening on an individual level, on a speeding up process. Now, this is what the ascension process actually is. It's the elevation of consciousness into a state of heart-based understanding. So it's not a holiday destination. When people say, oh, I'm going off to, I'm ascending, I'm going off to 5D. I used to think, right, I'm off to 5D Butlins or somewhere nice like that, and it was all going to happen overnight, but it's a long... Like
the Celestine prophecy, we're going to start vibrating at a level and then turn...
Yeah, exactly. So we're looking for weight of numbers. Like the whole ascension process at the moment is a weighting game for weight of numbers. So weighting as in there's a process where everyone's got to catch up, but there's also weight as in the quantity and the mass and the quality of unified vibrations, which then reset collectively the reality that we live in.
Yeah.
So all of the grind, all of the muck, all of the trouble, all of the confusion, all of the garbage that's being spewed out of the televisions to try and recaptivate people or hold them in a lower state of frequency and vibration, that's irrelevant. Okay, what's actually happening around us I consider to be just, it's annoying because we've got to live through it, but it's also irrelevant because the end process is an absolute. What's happening on this world is absolute. It's not negotiable.
No.
So these people who are through the TV sets attempting to control the masses.
Govern to control, mentor comes from Latin word of mind.
If you break down the word politics, many parasites.
Yeah, politics. Yeah.
So and this all pertains also to the feeding process of energy within the old matrix, say the old matrix, the golden days of the 3D matrix sort of thing. They are as aware as we are that this is happening.
We're going through a photon belt at the moment, which I think
that's another thing that's happening. We've entered this photon belt, and it just resets reality. Totally resets the frequency, the timeline, the reality, the consciousness level that we live on. But it's an interesting story that I heard a little while ago, and it came in tandem with several other people that I work with closely. They heard the same thing. And back in the 1960s, you've heard all of these stories about, like, what the US government or the other governments used to get up to. They had a supercomputer. Okay. They had a supercomputer that used to be able to read the future.
Like a quantum computer?
A quantum computer, that's exactly right. So, and so this quantum computer, they used to kind of, can imagine them all huddling around it, like, what are you going to give us today, magical computer sort
crystal
of thing.
ball.
Yeah, like rubbing it and hoping it's going to tell them how rich they're all going to be. Well, all of a sudden, one day, they were feeding in these this data, these scenarios, and the computer would tell them what would happen on the timeline.
I've heard this as well. Yeah.
And no matter what they fed into the computer, it gave them the same result.
Yeah, but before they could change. By certain events, they could change the outcome.
Yeah. Now that date is the one that we've just experienced. We've had the 10-year period since the cosmic moment.
Yeah.
And the date that they were looking at, where the timeline became absolute, was the solstice that we've just been through in the December.
Yeah,
literally. Weeks ago. So after this, no matter what they put into the program, no matter how they tried to manipulate it, no matter what scenarios they put in, computer says no. The whole planet wakes up, and it does. So it doesn't matter what happens. And this information has also been reflected by other people that have tuned into the same scenario but with different versions of it. Mass enlightenment.
Yeah.
The waking up.
What about the split in... So everybody's been talking the last 3 years, we've been feeling and recognising a massive split in the timelines, which I won't say the word, but like the last 3 years, like... the events that have happened within the last 3 years have created a very clear diversion. So, do you think that timeline is? Do you think that both timelines are just going to cease to exist in?
I do believe that there will be a certain percentage of people on this planet who still need to learn at the previous level. Now, information that I was given in 2008, which catapulted me onto this pathway, it's funnily enough around the same sort of time that you started stepping onto this pathway as well, gave me very clear numbers that 6 billion people would be walking through the Ascension Gateway. So that's the majority of souls on this planet. The majority of souls on this planet, regardless of how we look at them at the moment, how they're like kind of waddling around doing their own thing, completely disconnected from what they should be, by the end of this coming decade, there will be 6 billion people ready to walk through the kind of the Golden Gateway. Not I was going to say the Golden Arches, like walking through the McDonald's arches, something like that. No, this entire perception of raised consciousness on this planet by 2032, the framework is set at that higher frequency. So we've now got a decade of further shifting, sorting out, organising. But what we're going to see the most of, and what will be the biggest priority, will be to take what works from the previous version of reality and make it work at the higher version of reality. And what can't be taken into that higher frequency will be dissolved. It will be lost.
Yeah.
So there are, I'd say, probably a percentage of people on this planet who are simply not soul contracted to walk through that gateway. They decided that before they incarnated.
Yeah. As we decided, I mean, like we've known in this lifetime, at least, we know that we never fitted into society.
Yeah.
Like,
it was just never going to happen,
which
was it?
created, like for me, it was really hard growing up because I had no place of belonging.
No.
I didn't belong at home because I couldn't fit into the family system. I didn't belong at school because I couldn't fit into that robotic system.
Yeah.
And I didn't actually realise that the reason we didn't fit in, and I know we've all heard it a million times before, is we don't fit in because we actually came here to create a new reality. But we're actually seeing this in flocks of people sort of getting together more now and saying, okay, like, we didn't actually sign up for this society.
No.
We signed up here to create another one. And I know Central Portugal, as we've been out as well.
Oh yeah, you've had a proper adventure, haven't you?
Loads of people just getting off grid and just saying, that's it, that's enough now, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's time to change. But like, to make the change, for me, because we've all got different roles to do here, but for me and a lot of people that I know, the change happens with kind of being able to be authentic to yourself, which actually means having to step into your shame, which is, man,
Shame.
bloody hell, yeah, which is like taking responsibility for your emotions and your feelings and not transferring and projecting it into the external world. And this is what's like, this is actually restructuring the fabric of the universe, I believe.
It really is. There is, I mean, the last 3 years have been a huge journey. I mean, it's just been one big puddle of shadow work, isn't it? Shadow work. Having to look at the parts of ourselves or the parts of other people that have remained hidden. And another reason why that is becoming visible is the higher frequency that we're now living in. Because the planet has shifted its structural vibration, the whole vibration of everything, means that things that were able to be hidden previously they've got nowhere to hide now.
Yeah.
So they are right in front of us, and this is what's going to wake so many people up this year.
Being brought into the light of consciousness.
Visibility. I mean, even you have got to look at what happened on the BBC News the other day. Man,
I'm terrible. I don't watch mainstream at all. I know you hear about it more because you've got more people telling you.
Yeah.
But I'm quite cut off.
It just comes in. Well,
what happened the other day?
There was a big reveal, should we say. Somebody got onto the BBC and opened their mouth that they technically shouldn't have done.
Cool. We like big reveals.
We love big reveals. So things like this are going to occur now. You know, some people might say, "Oh, that was intentional."
Yeah.
Regardless of that, you're still giving people the opportunity to see that what they were investing their time and energy in previously was false. Now, that isn't enough to trigger people into a higher state of consciousness, because they immediately look at what they were previously believing and investing in, and that produces a state of shock, like a shock wake up.
Yeah, now it's like your reality crashing because what you thought was true and reliable and, you know, a source that you could focus and follow, when you suddenly realise it literally is not what you thought it was.
That's a big shock. That's a big shock for a lot of people. So the format that which, say, I would regard people that work in the ascension process, like, you know, one of the terms, the descriptions is light worker in inverted.
Yeah.
There's so many different descriptions, light
there
worker,
are.
earth worker.
It goes with perceptions again.
Yeah,
like everybody's doing their role and doing their thing. We were all put here to create the same end goal, but we, like with anything, we've all got different roles which we play.
That's the part I love about it. It's like everybody, there's so much diversity.
Yeah.
And one thing that I'm asking people particularly to be very vigilant with this particular year is to look for that spark of consciousness within people. Don't expect them to be a certain way.
Yeah.
Be accepting of the way that anybody's engaged on this process. I mean, you know, social media is basically great for an argument at the moment. If you want to get on Facebook and start a fight, you can do it very, very easily, can't you? And then get involved in the popcorn-soaked scroll hole.
I don't. Like, because I'm quite bad as well, because especially on a lot of the spiritual groups, there's been a lot of religious sort of Bible bashers infiltrating and trying to convert everybody to God.
Yeah.
And I find, I don't know like how deep it goes, but for me, I find religion really traumatic. I love the Bible's an amazing book if you know how to read it. It's astrology, anatomy, but it's been turned around and it's been used as a weapon against people to suppress and control.
I mean, the original teachings of the Bible were rewritten by the Vatican 500 years after the death of Christ. So it is simply exactly like you say, it's a tool for societal control. But what we're seeing again with the re-emergence is a big, strong re-emergence of kind of that whole religious focus, because people are looking for a saviour now. They need their God to come in and validate
if
this
you're
experience.
on that path, I think. But like if you're on the path which we're on, then we're starting to realise that like I know for a lot of people they've stopped putting they're not looking to be saved from an external force. They're recognising, okay, like this is where we step in and we take responsibility and we stand in our own power.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what this entire process is also all about, which is the self-mastery, self-sovereignty, self-responsibility. Because for thousands of years we've been handing the responsibility of our existence over to an external source.
Yeah, and looking for blame in the external world. Yeah.
You know, you can have a crappy experience and you can blame something upon it, but in actual fact, you know, that boils down to us and our own personal sense of responsibility. And lots of people start wriggling when you say that, but in the world that we live in at the moment, bad things are happening, and it's not necessarily always the responsibility of the person experiencing it. Some people out there are going to be due for a heavy dose of karma at the end of it, but I always believe that our souls know what they're doing. Okay, there are situations that occur that go beyond their creative potential down here, but the majority of the time the experiences have a purpose. Everything here has a purpose, and I believe that. But what I'm really looking forward to, and one thing that I'm also slightly, as I'm sure you are as well, a little bit nervous about, is what do you and I do when all the smoke clears from the battlefield, and we can relax, and we can put our feet up, and we can create this good world. Because there's going to be a lot of people out there that have been drive for I'm like one of the bloody worst. For me, part of my awakening, a massive part of it, is recognising my own patterns and my own triggers and working with them, and one of them is like not being able to slow down but as I've been doing the internal work, my reflection of the external world is I'm actually getting glimmers of what it's like to be able just to go and relax. Recognising that the reason I never could stop is because I've got all these parts within me which keep me moving, because it's not safe to be present with myself, because we've been taught like our whole lives that the part of the trick of keeping us unconscious is this whole society is structured around like abandonment and loss, but they use that as a weapon of like feeling like you don't belong. So if you've got this constant self-worth coming up all the time, then that kind of keeps you trapped in it not being safe or okay to be authentically yourself, if that makes sense. Oh, it makes perfect sense. I mean, the majority of our emotional states in one way or another have been used against us to keep society in line.
It's quite clever, isn't it?
Very clever. Very clever. I mean, you've got to take your hat off to the people that created the space or formulated the space that we live in, because they did it very efficiently. I mean, the illusion was absolute, and this is why it's taking so many people so long to break out of it, because it's hypnosis, it's alchemy, it's magic. At the end of the day, it's almost like this whole thing that we've been plugged into has been so absolute, so overwhelming, that when you are unplugged from it, it's almost that you've got to completely relearn who you are. Totally relearn who
100%. Yeah, and that is like, this is where like we can help as well, because this is part of Tim's being an ascension guide, is actually also an awakening guide. And for anyone who's struggling, this is what we can do. We're carving a pathway, but because we're working through our stuff as well, we can work through it together and just create a safe place where stepping into your authenticity and your truth is safe to do. It will still feel extremely uncomfortable, and it's going to bring up a lot of insecurities, but it's time to do it. This is time to wake up, isn't it, man?
We're gonna have a lot of people joining the ranks of the awakened this year. It's going to be bright. It's going to be brightly lit with people that are waking up. But this is where your role and my role becomes so important, and everybody else's role who's supporting this field, is to be... The roles have changed this coming year, I believe, from the way that it's been for the last decade or so. Because it's been very much about holding the pain of the world for billions of people that didn't even know they needed their pain holding for them. There's, all this work has been done in the background by the people on the spiritual pathway and the souls in the higher realms that are working from a non-physical perspective. But so from this year, the year that we're in now, we are being required to hold a stable field. Okay, so it's about, we have the groundwork in place. We've got this energy framework which has been built, but now the people who are stepping into it will need supporting. And they'll need supporting from the right perspective. They'll need supporting with, we know what you are going through because we have already been there. We've experienced where you are now. Not in a, I've been there and done it kind of thing, like, you'll catch up, mate. Not that kind of, not that kind of way, but being a solid, responsible guide, leader, teacher, and that's what's going to make, we're going to see so many people stepping into this arena. I think, like you say, we're going to have different groups, because also I think by taking responsibility for our emotions and everything else, we also, if we don't want to be a part of this society, we have to take responsibility for that as well. So, which would mean stepping away and saying, like, no, not anymore. Maybe growing our own food, setting up our own solar off-grid solutions, hydroelectricity, this kind of things. But just, carving, because, I think that we're way showers, pathfinders, and we are literally, time to wake up, guys, and just head in the right direction and start carving as much as you can this new pathway, and just stepping away from this society. Absolutely. Decision made.
Man, it's been bloody awesome. It always is, dude.
Brilliant, Danny. Thank you.
But we'll catch up again for a chat soon. And
absolutely.
Thanks for joining us today. And keep watching Tim and following Tim and myself. And we'll catch up with you soon. Cheers.
Bye for now.
Thanks for watching that today, guys. That was a great chat with Tim. It was lovely to have him with us today. And we could have talked for hours. But unfortunately, time isn't on our side. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share. And also, I'd like to add, if any of you do actually want some help with your awakening, you might be feeling a bit stuck, or you might be struggling with everything that's going on, because I know a lot's coming up for so many of us at the moment. We're all on this journey together, but I do coaching, and I do a bit of therapy, and I can also even do tailored meditations to suit your needs on helping you connect and work with parts. So anything you might need, just feel free to contact me via email, and I can help you out. So All right, thanks for tuning in, guys, and stay tuned for the next one. Catch you soon. Bye-bye.